I'm 28, live alone in a quiet neighborhood outside Portland, and work remotely as a graphic designer. I've always liked the stillness of late-night walks with my dog, Penny, a golden retriever who insists on one last outing before bed. The streets around my house are calm, lined with trees and dim orange lamps that hum faintly. This happened last winter, around 11:30 p.m. It was one of those nights when the cold feels clean and you can hear the echo of your own footsteps. I wasn't expecting anything unusual, just another short walk before turning in. Penny was her usual self, tail wagging, leash clinking, nose buried in every patch of grass. I had my earbuds in, but kept the volume low. I liked hearing the rhythm of her paws on the pavement. The neighborhood was familiar, the same small houses, the same parked cars, and the occasional porch light flickering. We usually walked down Birchwood Lane, looped around the old playground and headed home. I remember thinking about a client deadline and how I'd probably stay up a bit longer to finish. Everything was so normal that I almost didn't notice the silence. Not eerie, just thick, like the air was holding its breath. Penny stopped suddenly, sniffing the air, ears perked. I thought maybe she smelled a raccoon. I tugged her leash gently, and we kept walking. As we turned the corner near the park, I saw him, a man standing perfectly still under a streetlight. He wasn't doing anything, just facing the road with his hands in his pockets. From the distance, he could have been waiting for someone, but it was close to midnight on a weekday. Penny noticed him too. She froze, her tail slowly lowering. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he lived nearby. Maybe his car had broken down. I crossed to the opposite sidewalk, pretending not to look. As I passed, I felt that distinct, primal sense of being watched. I didn't turn around, but Penny kept glancing back. I told myself it was nothing, just a guy standing there. People do weird things sometimes. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, matching mine. I stopped. So did they. I turned, pretending to fix Penny's leash, and caught a glimpse of movement by the trees. The man was now on my side of the street, a few houses back. My chest tightened. I tugged Penny closer and picked up the pace. The sound of the leash jingling suddenly felt too loud, too bright against the quiet. Every time I turned a corner, I hoped I'd lost him, but the faint scrape of shoes on asphalt kept returning. I thought about calling someone, but who? It would sound paranoid. I wasn't even sure if it was the same man. Still, I started heading home by a different route, trying to stay in the glow of the streetlights. Penny's breathing quickened. She kept looking over her shoulder and gave a low growl I'd never heard from her before. I was half a block from my house when I saw his shadow stretch long across the sidewalk ahead of me. He was standing under another lamp, this time facing me directly. "Hey," he said, his voice low but clear. "You dropped something." My stomach flipped. I hadn't dropped anything. Penny began barking, loud and sharp. I took a step back, gripping the leash so tightly my hand hurt. "I think you dropped something," he repeated, taking one step forward. His hands were still in his pockets. "Stay back," I said, my voice shaking. He smiled faintly, not friendly, just wrong. Then, without another word, he turned and walked into the darkness between two houses. I stood there, frozen, listening. No doors opened, no footsteps, just silence. I ran home, slammed the door, and locked every bolt I had. Penny wouldn't stop pacing for nearly an hour. I called the police, gave a vague description, but there wasn't much to tell. A man under a streetlight, dark jacket, maybe mid-40s. They sent a patrol car, but no one was found. For weeks after that, I couldn't take Penny out at night. Every noise outside made my heart race. Eventually, I started walking her earlier, just before sunset. I told myself it was just a random encounter, that the man was harmless, but I never fully believed it. It's been almost a year and I've mostly moved on. Still, every few nights, Penny stands by the door around 11:30, staring out the window, tail stiff, ears alert. Last week, I looked through the glass to see what she was watching. Under the streetlight across the road, someone was standing again, perfectly still, and when the light flickered once, just once, he raised his hand like he was waving.
I'm 31 now, but this happened when I was 25, living in a small rental house on the edge of town. Behind my backyard was a narrow walking trail that cut through a patch of woods, quiet, safe, or so I thought. I used to take my dog, Cooper, there every evening around 9 p.m. He was a big German shepherd, gentle but alert. Those walks were our ritual. They helped me unwind after long days at work. The nights were peaceful then, a steady rhythm of crickets, cool air, and the crunch of gravel under my boots. That night started like any other. I grabbed my flashlight, put on my hoodie, and whistled for Cooper. He wagged his tail, spinning in circles like always. The neighborhood was calm, a few porch lights glowing, distant hum of cars on the highway. We passed the first row of trees, following the dirt path that curved behind the houses. I remember feeling grateful for the solitude, just me, my dog, and the night. I'd walked that trail dozens of times, even late, and never felt uneasy. Cooper would run a few feet ahead, sniffing everything, then come back when I called. It was routine, safe, familiar, predictable. Halfway through the trail, Cooper stopped abruptly. His ears shot up, tail stiff. I turned off my flashlight to listen. The woods fell silent. No crickets, no wind. Just stillness. Then I saw her, a woman standing at the edge of the trees, maybe 30 feet away. She wore a pale dress that reached her ankles and had long, dark hair. She wasn't moving, just watching. I thought maybe she was a neighbor, lost, or looking for her own dog. I lifted my flashlight slightly, trying not to blind her. "Are you okay?" I called. No answer. She didn't move, just stood there. I decided to keep walking. Maybe she was out for air. Maybe I was overthinking. When we reached the bend of the trail, I heard footsteps behind us. Not animal, human. Slow, steady. Cooper's low growl vibrated through the leash. I turned the flashlight back on, sweeping it through the trees. Nothing. The woman was gone. But the sound, the crunch of leaves, started again, matching my pace. I tried to stay calm, focusing on the rhythm of my steps. Then Cooper stopped again, teeth bared, staring at something behind me. I turned and saw her, the same woman, standing in the middle of the trail now, closer than before. Her head tilted slightly to one side. "Can I help you?" I asked, louder this time. She didn't respond. Cooper barked so violently that I stumbled backward. That's when I saw her hand twitch, like a flinch, and she took one small step forward. I didn't wait to see more. I yanked Cooper's leash and started running back toward the main road. Branches whipped at my arms as I pushed through the trail. I could hear footsteps behind us, faster now, uneven. Cooper barked over and over, pulling me along. I turned once more, just before the clearing, and saw her sprinting. Not walking, sprinting straight toward us. Her face finally visible under the beam of my flashlight. Pale, expressionless, eyes wide like glass. "Hey, stop!" I shouted, but my voice cracked. Cooper lunged between us, barking madly as I stumbled onto the pavement. I looked back, and she was gone. Just gone. No sound, no trace. When I got home, I locked every door and sat on the floor with Cooper's head in my lap until the sun came up. The next morning, I told a neighbor what happened. She frowned and said quietly, "You shouldn't walk that trail at night." Apparently, years ago, a woman was found dead near that very bend. Someone who'd gone missing after a late walk. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't sure what I saw that night, but I never went back there after dark. It's been 6 years, and I live in another state now. Cooper's older, slower, and we stick to sidewalks under streetlights. But sometimes, if I take him out a little too late, and the woods nearby catch the light just right, I swear I see the outline of a woman in white, standing between the trees, still waiting for something or someone to walk by again.
I'm 33 now, but this happened about 4 years ago, when I lived in a small suburban neighborhood outside Seattle. I had just gone through a breakup and spent most evenings walking my dog, Luna, a quiet border collie mix who hated being cooped up. Our usual spot was the local dog park, fenced, well-lit, and surrounded by a small patch of forest. I'd always felt safe there, even after dark. That night was cool, the air damp with drizzle, and the park lights cast a yellow haze over the empty field. I remember checking my phone, 9:47 p.m., as I unclipped Luna's leash. She ran happily toward the fence, chasing smells and rolling in the grass. I sat on a bench scrolling through messages, half listening to the distant hum of traffic. A few cars passed on the adjacent road, their headlights flashing through the trees. It was peaceful. Just me, Luna, and the sound of wet leaves under her paws. After about 10 minutes, I noticed a white van parked by the curb, engine running. That wasn't unusual. People sometimes stopped to let their dogs out. Still, something about it felt off, the way it idled there with its headlights off. I tried to ignore it, assuming someone was waiting for a friend or making a call. But after a few minutes, the driver's door opened slightly. Not fully, just a crack. I couldn't see the person inside, just the outline of the door's shadow against the pavement. Luna stopped playing and trotted back to me, ears low. She was staring at the van, silent. I remember whispering, "It's okay, girl," and trying to sound casual. The van's engine turned off. The silence that followed felt heavier than before, like the air itself was listening. I clipped Luna's leash and started toward the gate. The van door closed softly. As I reached the path to the parking lot, I heard footsteps, fast, deliberate, coming from the other side of the fence. I turned my phone's flashlight on and swept it toward the noise. Nothing, just wet grass and the faint outline of trees. Then I heard the van door open again. A man's voice called out, "Hey, excuse me." I froze. He stepped halfway out, a tall silhouette in dark clothes. "Is that your dog?" he asked. His tone was calm, but something about it was wrong. "Yeah," I said, gripping the leash. "Why?" He hesitated, then smiled faintly. "She's beautiful. What's her name?" I didn't answer. I just started walking fast toward the main road. Luna began growling, a low, steady sound I'd never heard from her before. Behind me, I heard quick footsteps. I turned. He was following, maybe 20 feet back. "Hey, I'm not gonna hurt you," he said, almost laughing. "I just want to talk." I ran. Luna barked furiously, pulling at the leash. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. I reached the end of the trail where the park lights faded into the street. The van's engine roared to life again, headlights flaring on. He was trying to circle around. I darted between two parked cars and cut across a neighbor's yard, mud splashing under my shoes. Luna was trembling. I didn't stop until I slammed my front door shut and locked it. I called the police right away. They sent a car, took my statement, and drove by the park. The van was gone. The officer said they'd patrol the area for a few nights, but nothing came of it. For weeks, I was terrified to go out after dark. Luna barked at every passing vehicle. 2 months later, while scrolling through local news, I froze. A photo of a white van. Police were searching for a man accused of trying to lure women walking dogs near several parks in the area. The description matched him perfectly. To this day, I still can't pass a parked van without feeling my chest tighten. Luna's older now, slower, but every time we pass the dog park at night, she pulls away, ears flat, tail low. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed just a few minutes longer. Maybe nothing. Or maybe that van would have been the last thing anyone ever saw of me.